Omega, it's Hera. You have to come back to Ryloth.
Isn't she the kid from the weapons drop?
Hera?
The Empire's taken my parents, and they are after me now too. I'm sending coordinates. Please hurry. I need your help.
You gave her our comm channel.
For emergencies, and that sounded pretty urgent. We have to go.
Bucketheads, Mayvar Tigar, welcome to the 73rd Probe Droid Poppin' episode of Mando Vision. Nargai Tom, and thank you so much for checking out this small, independent Star Wars podcast. We are so happy that you're here. Old, new listeners alike, welcome aboard. It's Bad Batch Friday, and we are pumped. We are pumped to talk about this one today. Remember, the best way to reach out to us is via social media at Mando_Vision, Twitter and Instagram. You can email the show, mandovisiontom@gmail.com. For all the scathing diatribes you want to send in my way, I want to read them. I want to see them. I want to be part of them in some special way. Please be sure to like, subscribe, and share the show with all the other Mandalorians in your covert. And if possible or so inclined, sweet 5-star reviews. The best way to help small shows like us stand out, defeat the algorithm, punch it right in the side of its head. We can't wait. We can't wait to read them on the show. It's going to be so much fun. All right, like I said, it's Bad Batch Friday, and we are dying to get into this one. We're here at Season 1, Episode 12, Rescue on Ryloth. Original air date, July 16th, 2021. This week's episode is directed by Nathaniel Villanueva, written once again by Jennifer Corbett, story editor Matt Mishnevitz. Our plot, it's pretty simple. It's the rescue on Ryloth. We talked about it last week. We were pretty confident in stating Hera Syndulla would be making a phone call. Well, not a phone call. She'd be placing the call, this call for help to the friend she just made, Omega, and that's exactly what happens in this episode. And yeah, it's a lot of fun with this one. And I don't know. Again, like I said, we sort of knew this was coming, but I thought this episode was very, very fantastic. And of course, you can't do a fantastic animated series without a fantastic voice cast, and that's exactly what we have for you today. We have D. Bradley Baker as the Bad Batch, Captain Hauser, and the various clone troopers. Michelle Ang is Omega. Robin Atkins Down returns as Sham Syndulla. Fairlith Young is Ilani Syndulla. Tina Huang is ESO2. Ness Batista, ESO3. Taheli Hall, ESO4. Corey Burton is Gobi Glee. Vanessa Marshall is Hera Syndulla. Nashir Dalal, Vice Admiral Rampart, and Chopper is, of course, played by Chopper. Those are the vital statistics you need for this week's episode. And otherwise, we're just going to dive into it because I don't have a lot of other stuff to talk to you about. There wasn't a lot of Star Wars news as we get into. I think the only other thing that I gleaned Star Wars-wise was that the animated Vision series from the anime creators will take place both before and after the Skywalker trilogies, and that's exciting and very interesting. But I don't think it's anything that we need to do a deep dive on. Maybe not necessarily, but yeah, I'm excited about that series coming up. But in the meantime, we got the Bad Batch, and we're heading into the home stretch here. After this week's episode, 4 episodes left in the season. I assume there'll be multiple seasons of the Bad Batch, though that has not been confirmed just yet. So let's do it. Let's get into it. Strap on your buckets. Let's go.
Perhaps the situation is not as dire as described. Children often overreact.
No, we don't. You heard her. She needs us.
Omega, it's a big galaxy. We can't put ourselves on the line every time someone's in trouble.
Why not? Isn't that what soldiers do?
Oh, the look that Hunter gives to Omega after she says that and asks that questions to him. Oh boy, oh boy. What a fun episode this one was. I've been on board, even for some of the episodes that have a little bit of that have been criticized more heavily. I've been on board. And I think an episode like we get today is the reward for those of us who have been patient with the series and who have gone along for the ride, no matter what happens. A lot of the criticisms had it being about like the Bad Batch. It just felt like they were all on side missions. It was all like they were side questing right now, of avoiding the main quest. Earning experience points and getting money. And when you play an RPG, sometimes that's what you have to do in order to progress in the main campaign. So, give them a little bit of credit here. It makes a little bit of sense that they were, again, laying low, avoiding the Empire, trying to figure out where they fit in this new dynamic in the galaxy. And of course, they had Omega, and they had to figure out where she fits with them. They obviously care for and want to protect Omega, but it's not as easy as just laying low for the rest of their lives. Like, they're being drawn into the galactic conflict, whether they want it or not, because the galaxy's been turned upside down. And in this episode, I think they begin to realize that they're not going to be able to sit on the sidelines here. And it's Omega is the one who drags them to that realization, drags Hunter particularly to that realization that they're going to have to be involved in things. And again, Hunter and the Batch are very reluctant, but it's due to Omega and Harrison Dula that a plan is formed, the Bad Batch enacts it, and a successful mission is achieved. Spoiler alert. Let's just cut to the end right there. But that's what I think is really great about this episode, because a lot of those elements come together. A lot of the things that some fans have complained about as being slow or not having enough focus on the team itself. This episode brings it all together in a way where we see Omega's role come to the front. She is sort of beginning to assert herself in the Batch. She is starting to find her place and find her confidence, find her voice, and she's not being shy about expressing that and getting that out there. And again, she makes compelling arguments. Like, Hunter is forced to listen. The Batch is forced to listen to what she is saying. And then again, the same thing for Hera, as Hera begins to show her leadership qualities, things that she must have learned watching her father lead the resistance against the Separatists. These are skills that she is now going to pick up on and to continue to develop in her joining the Rebel Alliance. So really great things happening for those two characters in particular. But for the point of our series, we now may have the team's dynamic figured out a little bit better moving forward. And obviously, the big revelation, not a revelation, but the big turning point is at the end of this episode, when Vice Admiral Rampart decides that the Bad Batch, it's time for them to be dealt with. Clone Force 99 must be dealt with, and he is dispatching he's dispatching Crosshair to hunt them down. And that's going to rocket us into those final 4 episodes, and it's so very, very exciting. But yeah, let's go ahead and check out where we are with this episode, because there's a lot in here. Again, much like last week's episode, a lot of dense layering going on here as we see the political turmoil, the upheaval of the galaxy, and the new order, basically, that the Empire is trying to bring to the galaxy, as it's rooting out potential insurgents before they can even do anything, but specifically the Syndulas in this episode. So yeah, a lot to get into. And as we talked about before in last week's episode, you could sort of see it with Captain Hauser, how some of the things that were going on, he didn't seem to be like 100% on board. He had a certain loyalty, and it seemed to be a certain amount of respect for the Syndulas, and for Champ Syndulla in particular. And you can see that what happened at the end of last week's episode is weighing on him. And as Rampart is just chatting, it's not an interrogation scene by any means. He's sort of taunting the Syndulas from one side of the force screen of their prison cell. Again, you see it across Hauser's face. He is uncomfortable with what's happening now, and that the next scene I want to play for you now is Hauser beginning to express that to Rampart, and Rampart's reaction to Hauser sort of stepping out of line. And then I want to kind of talk a little bit more about Hauser and his situation on the other side. Check it out now.
Scour the entire planet if you have to. I want all of Syndulla's sympathizers found and arrested.
Sir, the people are not insurgents. We have no cause to arrest them.
They're supporting a menace. Syndulla's forces attacked our transport and shot Senator Tar.
I was there. That blast didn't come from Cham or his fighters.
Is that so? Then please enlighten me. Who is responsible?
I don't know, sir.
Leave the thinking to me, Captain. You have your orders.
So it would appear that Hauser is the first clone trooper that we're seeing begin to question orders and to question what the Empire is doing. And you know, that's something that I think is very interesting because, you know, all these clones have had their chips activated. And so we've kind of wondered like what the limitations were to that. What did that mean as far as day-to-day operations for a clone? Now, we don't know the story with Hauser. I mean, you see on his face, he's received some damage from combat. So maybe something happened to his inhibitor chip, and maybe it's damaged in some way, so he's able to think more independently than others. But it's something to consider, you know, if that chip has a lifespan, or if after a certain amount of time, like, you know, if you are actively engaged in resisting it, you know, perhaps you can overpower it. It's something that I don't know if we'll get an explanation for or more exploration on, but it's something fun to consider, especially because there are still so many clone troopers in active service in the Empire, and you would have to imagine that Hauser's not the only one that feels this way. Obviously, Rex is out there, though he has had his chip removed. So we want to see what happens with the chip situation, how that's going to progress, how that's going to evolve over the course of the series. Because at some point you would imagine the batch will try to start, and maybe this will be something that we get back to with Rex. So whether it's Rex or the batch themselves, you would imagine they're going to try and rescue as many of their brothers as possible, and remove the chip from them so they can make their own choices again. So Hauser's an interesting sort of example of the limitations of that chip and exploring that option. I want to see more about that. I'm very curious about that. And I like that Hauser seemed to still have his conscience about things, and did not. I mean, he hesitated. Let's be honest. I mean, he let everything happen from the last episode, but eventually he does step up and call out Rampart for what he believes is wrong, what he saw was wrong, and the lies that Rampart is apparently spinning for his narrative, you know, for it to be believed. And that comes into play later on as Rampart's addressing the people and how, you know, Syndulla is the one responsible for the assassination attempt on Orn Frey Taa. Now, I'm curious about that because he keeps saying assassination attempt. He's obviously spinning a narrative, but he tells the people that Taa is recovering. Taa took a blast to the head. I'm pretty confident in saying that Orn Frey Taa is dead. But, you know, maybe not. It's hard to, you know, we don't see Taa in this episode. I assume he's dead. They took his body away. He seemed pretty dead to me. But I'm curious again. You know, Rampart has a narrative. I'm curious how much more there is to it than just that. So again, interesting parts to consider for the episode. And just to kind of put a bow on Hauser's story arc for the episode, you know, at the end, when he makes the decision to help the Bad Batch and help the Syndullas escape, that he's going to go out there and confront his troopers because he wants to give them the choice to make the same decision that he's making, is that the Empire is wrong and that they must oppose this. I was surprised that Crosshair didn't just put one right in his chest and call it a day when he was trying to rally his brothers to stop their support of this Imperial plan of arresting the Syndullas. I was really surprised that Crosshair didn't just put one right in his chest and boom, that's that. And nope. No, Crosshair allows Hauser and the clones who go with him to surrender. So I think you have to wonder at the same time, is Crosshair, has he crossed the line? Is he beyond redemption at this point? I don't know. If he had shot Hauser in cold blood, I might have thought so. You know, he's done some cold things, but I think we all still want to believe that Crosshair has a chance to come back to the Batch, to Clone Force 99, to his actual brothers. Well, actual brothers, you know what I mean. And, to his actual family, if you want to get real specific about it, and be part of that once again. But we have to, and that's going to be something explored in these next bunch of episodes. You mark my words about that. It's going to be a lot of fun to kind of see how this all shakes out with Crosshair here in season 1. But if by the end, does he come back to the Batch, or are they still at odds? For a bigger chunk of this series. I'm looking forward to seeing more about that. Another element of this episode we have to talk about is their plan, the plan that Hera and Omega hatch. The Batch they're reticent to get too involved here. They don't want to promise Hera that they can liberate her parents. They have to scope out the situation, and they have to come up with a plan. So the Batch goes to do a little recon on the town, and we see that the light bridge has been retracted, so everyone's there. You have to be able to storm it from another location. A great sequence here where a probe droid is lurking around, spots the Batch. Hunter steps away, and then we just see him crashing down on the probe droid and just ramming his knife into its big ocular device, the big giant red eye, basically, of the Imperial probe droid. And I thought that was a great sequence. I really, really enjoyed that quite a bit. That was a lot of fun to check out. And, him kind of riding that probe droid back to the surface and crashing on top of it. I thought that was really, really cool. But, of course, by that point, that probe droid has relayed the information. Rampart, Crosshair, they're all aware that the Batch is there. And more importantly, the Batch is also aware that Crosshair is there. So that's something that they have to keep in mind, too. And, Clone Force 99 is going to move. They are really reluctant to take this on. They've been trying to keep their heads down. They've been trying to keep Omega safe. Obviously, there's the bounty hunter situation. So the more they pop their head above the surface, the more likely it's going to attract, Fennec Shand and bounty hunters across the galaxy to come after her and to more Cad Bane perhaps. Whoever else. I mean, maybe, like I said, we talked about it before. Maybe Boba Fett pops his head into the circle of bounty hunters coming after Omega as well, which would be very, very interesting. Though Boba's still fairly young, don't get me wrong, but would it shock anyone at this point to see more Boba Fett? Probably not. It would actually make a ton of sense. So yeah, I'm very interested in that. But yeah, excuse me. Going back to what I was trying to say before I got off on a little side tangent there. The Batch is not convinced they can pull this off. It's not until Hera and Omega come up with a plan that is viable, that is feasible, and it involves this Imperial refinery that we were introduced to last week. One of these big selling points the Empire is pushing for the Twi'lek people is that, hey, we got this. We put this refinery here. Now we have all these jobs for you to go to, and it's going to be rad. It's going to help redevelop Ryloth and put you guys on the Imperial trading map and all this good stuff. And that's going to be the target. That's going to be what Hera and Omega plan to hit in order to draw away the Imperials from the city. Once those Imperials are drawn away from the city, I believe it is Echo and Hunter who are going to break in, free the Syndulas, and make their escape while all the Imperials are back at the refinery attempting to stop whatever Wrecker and Tech are up to as far as launching an attack against the refinery and destroying precious Imperial property.
The Imperial refinery on the outskirts.
I've been spying on their activity. I know their routine. If we attack there, reinforcements will be diverted from the capital.
We can use that distraction to rescue Hera's parents.
Any heavy defenses at the refinery?
5 perimeter cannons, but they are unmanned.
Autocannons are extremely vulnerable. Where is the control console?
Right inside the main gate. It is heavily guarded, but Chopper can slip inside with the other droids and disable the cannons.
All right, you two go with Chopper as backup, but at a distance.
Really?
By themselves?
Tech, Wrecker, wait until those cannons are down and move in. Echo and I will scale the Capitol wall and free Hera's parents. I guess we'll follow your lead.
So there's where we see the power dynamic shift a little bit, which is, again, really exciting. The Batch can go back to soldiering, and they're trusting Hera and Omega's plan. So everyone seems to be finding their role in the team, in the unit, in the family. And now we appear to be clicking on all cylinders, which I think is the biggest step for the show in this episode, is that dynamic seems to be figured out. Now again, Hera's not part of this moving forward. She's our special guest star of the week, but we're seeing a vital part of her development as well when we get to Rebels in the timeline, which is not too far off for her. So these are important steps, and of course, action ensues. Lots of great fun stuff with the Batch, the attack on the refinery, Crosshair figuring out the Bad Batch's plan, which is a scene we'll probably be playing in a little bit. And of course, I don't want to go back to Hauser already, but we did during that sequence. There is right before that sequence is when Hauser goes to and attempts to, assuage his guilt to the Syndulas, and they're not having any of it. They're not having it at all, which I think helps seal the deal for him to make the decision that he makes later in the episode to support them and help them, or to aid them in their escape attempts. So yeah, solid stuff there. And I like the development here, and Hunter very much learning the lessons from these prior episodes, that Omega's going to get involved. Omega doesn't want to be sidelined. She's part of the team. She has a role to play, a responsibility, and he's trusting her with it. He's going to allow her in the field to hopefully follow his suggestion that she stay far away, though her and Hera both have to get in the mix because the plan does go awry. Chopper gets detected, which is a pretty funny sequence with him frying that R2 unit and trying to take over the controls of the weapon systems. So they have to hijack a ship, and Hera's not the pilot that we know her to be just yet, so it's a little rough, but they get some stuff done. Omega and Hera on their own having a good time making the plan work, and that's when Wrecker and Tech are able to fly in there with their ship, destroy the turrets, and begin causing general chaos for the Imperial forces. And again, back at the city, that's where we see Imperial forces being pulled away as we watch as we watch Echo and Hunter scale the walls of the city. And a fun sequence with a clone trooper at the top of the wall looking down and seeing Echo. And Echo's asking, little help here. And that's when Hunter gets the guy from behind. Really funny sequence, really enjoyable. Good stuff in this episode. Like I said, if you're not delighted with this episode, I don't know what you've been doing.
Stop.
The Admiral said to protect the refinery.
That's not their target.
Then why are they attacking it?
Crosshair's watching all the ships peel away from the base. That's when he's putting it together. Yeah, he doesn't say, but that's when Crosshair knows that something is up. And we should mention a little bit more about Crosshair in this episode, too. You see on the side of his head some serious battle damage that he received. I'm assuming this is from Braca when the Republic cruiser engines were turned on, and he got damaged pretty badly in that fight. We saw his head wrapped up at the beginning of the next episode after that as the Batch is escaping from Braca. So, yeah, he's taking his lumps for the Empire early on here. But it was interesting to sort of see again, like the Bacta tank can only do so much. But yeah, interesting to see that battle damage on the side of his head. Again, you have to notice that. That's interesting stuff right there. And yeah, that's where we end up with that. All right, so I do want to play Hauser's speech here. This is right as he's coming out the doors. The Imperial forces are waiting to apprehend Clone Force 99 and the Syndulas in their attempted escape. But instead, it is Hauser, and he's about to address the troops here.
Brothers, what are we doing? We came here to free Ryloth from Separatist control, and we succeeded. But look around you. We're now being ordered to target the very people we swore to protect, and I will not be a part of it any longer. Who will stand with me?
Several other clone troopers dropping their arms and their shields. It's at this point when I thought for sure that Crosshair was going to put one in his chest.
Arrest those traitors.
But instead, it's just an arrest. But still, really good stuff there. Now we're going to get to the scene. I want to play the sequence where the Syndulas reunite.
Here's the payment Hera promised.
Keep it. You'll need it. These occupations are happening on other planets besides Ryloth.
I hope to have fought my last war. But our people need us now, more than ever. We must organize.
Well, that's not something we can help with, General. I have my own people to look out for.
If a war is coming, it will be their fight as much as ours. Come along, Hera.
Tech showed me how to scramble a ship's signature.
We will soon see how well it works. It is time for us to go.
This is when Omega and Hera have to say goodbye, and it's emotional. Omega doesn't have a lot of friends, especially friends like roughly her own age. So, really cool sequence. I like this. I like how these two have bonded and connected over the last 2 episodes. Really, really neat stuff. And again, Star Wars is at its best when there's an emotional core, and that's what this episode's given us.
Well, co-pilot, we didn't do too bad.
Do you have to go?
For now. But I'm sure I'll see you around. And keep an eye on your brothers. They need it.
I will.
Thanks for believing in me.
Alright, so we had that nice, touching, emotional moment between Omega and Hera, as Hera and the Syndulla family plan to depart Ryloth. They have to go into hiding, plan their resistance, the next phase of resisting, going from resisting the Separatists to resisting the Empire. Oh, those Syndullas, they are always fighting for something, and we're so glad that they are, and we thank them for their service. Let's shift back to the Empire. We got to talk about what happens here at the end. Because this is the turning point. This is going to be the driving force for these final 4 episodes, I would imagine. So I'm really excited about this. We're going to catch back up with Vice Admiral Rampart. He's surveying the scene at the very, very damaged and exploded Imperial refinery. And Crosshair is about to check in with his report. Here we go.
It would seem I underestimated your 4 friends. If only they were fighting for us instead of against us.
Request permission to hunt them down.
Granted.
And there we go. And that's where we leave it for this week, as Crosshair is about to go on the hunt. And I couldn't be more excited for what's coming next. Again, we're kicking off the final 4 episodes begin. And I would imagine the tension, the drama, the suspense will only escalate as we get closer and closer to that season 1 finale. And it's going to be a real hoot. It's going to be a real blast. Again, I enjoyed the crap out of this episode. Enjoyed the crap. Not great English. I apologize. I could express myself better than that. But I really did enjoy this episode very fully. I was engrossed from the moment it began. And I hope you were too. This is an easy 8.5. And I love everything that is set into place going forward for not only for the Syndullas, but for the Batch and for Omega. And I love that we potentially have the dynamic for the team figured out now, Omega's going to help with strategizing and kind of become almost like a leader in essence in deploying the Batch in the ways that's most efficient and effective to achieving the goals that will now be basically survival. If Crosshair's going to bring the weight of the Empire to bear against them, they're going to need all the help they can get with strategy. So I'm really, really excited to see what happens next. And I think the tension only gets ratcheted up to the next level from here on out. And I'm really, really excited about that. All right, so that's going to do it for Bad Batch Friday. I hope you have had as much fun as I have today. And I can't wait to do it again with you all next Friday. So please stick around, come back on Fridays for Bad Batch Friday. And you know what happens on Monday? We're doing our Clone Wars rewatch series on Mondays. We're in the thick of the Mandalore trilogy from Season 2. And Voyage of Temptation drops on Monday this week. So get ready for that, because it's been a hoot to watch that again and check back into with Duchess Satine and our good friend Obi-Wan Kenobi, the negotiator. Anyways, so that's what we got going on Mandovision. If you're kind enough to listen to my other podcast, the Tomcast Popcast, where we talk about everything else going on in the world of pop culture, you will know that we just finished up our episode by episode breakdown and reviews of Loki on Disney Plus. And that was a lot of fun, a lot of exciting stuff going on there. If you haven't checked those out, please by all means take a look, take a listen, see what you think. And on Monday, this coming Monday, we will be dropping a review for Black Widow. I'm very excited to talk about that movie as well. So hopefully you've all had a chance to check it out, see that movie, and gather your thoughts. Our review for it is unique, as opposed to the way we kind of break down shows. The episodes of Star Wars, where we're very chronological, we kind of go in a linear fashion with it. We kind of jump all over the place with our Black Widow review, but that's sort of the dice you roll when you have a guest on, and you give them free reign to talk about things that they want to talk about, and that's okay. It makes it a fun, lively conversation. So I hope you'll just check it out and enjoy the heck out of it. And it is spoiler filled, so again, make sure you've watched Black Widow. But that's going on in the Tomcast Podcast, dropping on Monday. All right, this is the Mandovision podcast, though. My name is Tom, Narguy Tom, and I thank you once again for listening. Old listeners, new listeners, and everyone in between, thank you for coming back week after week. It means the world to me, and I'm so glad we are here to talk about Star Wars together. So please reach out, engage with me on social media at Mando_Vision on Twitter and Instagram. You can email the show at mandovisiontom@gmail.com. Please make sure you're liking, subscribing, and sharing the show with all the other Mandalorians in your covert, if possible or so inclined. Sweet 5-star reviews help us defeat the algorithm, and that's so very, very important. We are on all your favorite podcasting platforms: Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, Google Play, Pandora, Audible, Amazon, and so many, many more. And if we're not on something, please let me know. You know what? It's going to be a bumpy weekend. Keep your bucket strapped on, stay safe out there, and we'll check back in on Monday with you. Have a great weekend, Bucketheads. See you soon. Remember, this podcast only ends one way, and this is the way.
This is the way.
This is the way.
This is the way.
I would like to see the baby.